Yo, yo, yo. Welcome everybody to the Real Deal Pods. I'm your host for today's show, Loconte, and today we'll be speaking a little bit of everything. The talking points are already there, so we can jump in. Xabi Alonso era has officially begun, and it began really interestingly. Just being honest here, the guy showed up at the training center at 7 in the morning and left at 6 at night, which goes to show how much commitment he's made. Real Madrid also announced his coaching staff, which is an interesting one. They kept Pintos as a part of the staff, which was really interesting choice to me. I thought that Pintos was going to leave with Ancelotti, but he actually didn't. And they also kept the old goalkeeper coach, which makes the most sense considering just how pivotal of a part they have played with both Lunin and Courtois over the years. So that's a great thing. We have a new set pieces coach. That's a great thing on top of it, and we're also adding a lot of players. The era of Alonso has officially, we can say, begun. Real Madrid are on the road to go and play Club World Cup, even though maybe it might not be a competition that mattered at the beginning, especially when we saw it, the format, everything that's been going on with it. It's pretty clear that every club is putting emphasis on it. Well, to begin with, you make more money out of Club World Cup than you make out of the Champions League, and you're playing it for only a month. So obviously, from a business standpoint, it's a great thing. But also, on this case for Alonso, of course, he's coming with a heavy pressure having to win it, but he's also coming with the idea that he has time to implement things before La Liga begins. I know that Javier Tebas already came out publicly and said that when are Atleti and Real Madrid going to start La Liga, which is a fair point, and that's really my biggest issue. I'm not really sure how Real Madrid are going to really structure their preseason with Club World Cup. I don't know what Alonso is thinking there. Maybe Club World Cup is going to be treated as a preseason. I'm not really sure how they're going to go around it. With the information that I have coming to this show, Real Madrid have not announced anything about the preseason. They might stick around in US for some friendlies. We don't really know, but wouldn't really make sense. Probably you would want to give those players a little bit of rest, especially considering the fact that a good portion of them are coming from either qualifiers with the national teams, or you have Nations League, or you have pretty much where Jude is going through, which is a qualifier on top of a friendly, which I'm kind of praying that he doesn't play. Vinicius is playing both very important games with Ancelotti, so that's also something to keep in mind. The health of these players will be prioritized. And this is where Alonso mostly comes in. Alonso is not really the type of coach to stick to one lineup, just have those 11 guys run to the ground, because we kind of been used with that with Carlo Ancelotti. Ancelotti just doesn't change a lot of things. But with Alonso, you're going to get different lineups. You're going to get a lot of rotations. My expectations with this would be that we're probably going to go into that Zinedine Zidane era in 2016-17, where you had a lot of changes there. So some of the things, though, from what's being reported from Alonso's training camp in Real Madrid, a lot of emphasis has been put so far with the ball. Alonso clearly wants the team to be dominant. We can tell. The reports are coming out that Real Madrid did heavy work with the ball, with the goalkeepers being involved and everybody. Of course, Huijsen today had his presentation, and he's going to join the training with the team fully. He's coming off a national team loss against Portugal, but now he's going to have to train with Real Madrid and keep that intensity, which again goes back to the point that I made before, that there are just way too many games, and Alonso is going to have to be very careful with the way how he actually treats them. But the emphasis is pretty clear so far. Huijsen is going to fit in perfectly well, especially if those early reports are what's going to transmit on the pitch. I don't expect Real Madrid to be completely transformed by the first game against Al Hilal, I believe it is. I don't expect them to be fully transformed. I don't expect them to have like the cleanest build up ever. But I want to see changes to this team. I want to see this team immediately in different shape, and I think that that's doable. Are we gonna see holes? Yes, probably, but I want to see that this team finally has a direction, has something to fall back into. And as Alonso said on his unveiling as Real Madrid coach, I want fans to tune in and enjoy watching the game, unlike the suffering that we have had for a long time with our football. Even though, don't get me wrong, enjoy the trophies, but the football definitely left a lot to be desired. So we're coming out to a stage where we want to win trophies, but we also want to play a style of football that's a little bit more advanced, that's a little bit more enjoyable, considering the amount of games that there are. Obviously, you don't want to sit through a chore for 80 games a season. You want to play beautiful football, knowing that, hey, I'm going to tune into this Xabi Alonso's Real Madrid, and I'm going to enjoy watching them. That's really one of the key points with Alonso, and it seems that already the emphasis has been there. What was really interesting to me is the fact that even the injured players did a part with the first team. That's because, not with the first team, but with the team that completed the training session. What that tells me is that Alonso used his first ever training session to actually, well, guys, this is what you're going to have to do. Of course, the intensity is going to ramp up consistently. That was probably the lowest intensity, where he could have just taken them and kind of shown to them the idea that, hey, this is what I expect out of every single one of you. And that's what we like seeing. That's the reality. We like seeing a coach that's going to be fully engaged, and that's even taking injured players to shoehorn his ideas. So it kind of contradicts a little bit the reports where we have like, oh, Alonso needs to hold talks with this guy or that guy. I don't believe in that. I believe that he's spoken to every single player so far. I believe that he's told them at the very least what their roles are going to be. And this brings me to the left back position of Real Madrid, which is not going to have Alvaro Carreras on it for the Club World Cup, as Benfica has already announced that he's part of their squad. So without Carreras and Real Madrid or Florentino Perez, I want to say, being a little bit hesitant on paying that 50 mil release clause, they want to do a deal. At the very least, they want to structure a transfer deal there and not pay the release clause, which makes total sense. What are really the options? Ferland Mendy is injured. You don't really count on him, so it's only Fran Garcia. So with Fran Garcia, we might have, and we will get to see some young players there. Aguado is there, and he's like a center back, left back mold type of player, which I think would fit best with Alonso if he wants to keep one fullback high up and one deeper, just for that balance and to kind of create more like that 3-at-back structure. He would fit in. So it's going to depend on his performances, but he's not a player that I'm completely discounting. I think that he might be the reason why Real Madrid are not pulling the trigger on somebody like Carreras, and instead they're just playing a waiting game there because they might not want to overpay. Yes, with Carreras, you would get a player that's far more polished, but because of the way how Ancelotti managed the team last season, we didn't really get to see a left back come from Real Madrid Castilla and at least get to show something. So Alonso might be the guy that's going to come in here and he's going to try them out. Alonso has good relationships already with Real Madrid. There are reports that he's thinking of using the academy a lot more. I'm not saying that the academy now needs to be the end-all be-all. I think that the team needs to be strengthened in key areas. But if you can find that gem from the academy without having to spend the money, why not do it? And I think that Club World Cup is a perfect opportunity for these players to show. And I'm also a little bit biased when it comes to this. I'm not going to deny it, but I would like to see how Fran Garcia is going to function with Xabi Alonso as a coach. I think that the system that Carlo Ancelotti was deploying was not doing Fran Garcia any sort of favors. He came to Real Madrid as one of the best left backs in Spain. So maybe, just maybe, it's not too late for things to change for him. I know that even for Madrid, he's shown glimpses of a player that he can become. And even though he has his flaws, if the coaching can do just enough to hide them, maybe Fran Garcia becomes a genuine viable option. People underestimate just how good Fran Garcia used to be for Rayo Vallecano, especially on the defensive end of it and 1v1s. Ousmane Dembele, who we're talking right now for a Ballon d'Or, couldn't get past him because he is so tenacious. He might not be the best positionally. That is something that Iraola worked very hard on his setup to actually fix, and I think that that's something that Xabi Alonso is also going to have to do, but I haven't given up completely on Fran Garcia as of yet. I do know that Fran has shown some mental glimpses too, where he's struggling under pressure, but again, keep in mind it was a team that couldn't really build out of the back to save its life, and Fran Garcia came from a completely different environment of Andoni Iraola, where there is a lot more emphasis put into into the build-up, into the way how their system is a little bit more automated, even though they are overly vertical, their Iraola teams. I don't believe that Xabi Alonso is going to be that vertical with Real Madrid, but I believe that he's going to be a little bit more vertical, or he's going to be what Carlo Ancelotti was attempting to be, but just done good enough. So with that being said, I'm not really hurt by the fact that Carreras is not joining for the Club World Cup. I would like to see a youngster and Fran Garcia battle it out basically and see if there is something for the club and see if something is really going to come there before they jump the gun of paying 15 million for Carreras. Carreras is really good, don't get me wrong, but there is room on this team, on this squad right now, where they might attempt to do some things without really having everything tarnished. So now things are changing. Another report is the fact that Arda Gôler is going to be turned completely into a midfielder by Xabi Alonso. Sid, who's also a host on the show and the producer, he brought up that Arda would have been best in deeper. That was a while ago now, and that seems to be the direction that the team is headed. And it makes the most sense. He's basically, or probably, the best needle passer. He's the player who's the best at recycling the ball in this squad. So it just makes sense that you want him in deeper areas. Also, one thing that I noticed throughout the end of the season, as Arda's minutes were ramping up, is the fact that when he's higher up, he seems to be losing a lot more duels with the defenders, or when he has to protect the ball with his back at all times, rather than when he's face fronting them, which is a good sign. Do I think that Arda Gôler needs to improve physically? Yes, by a lot. I don't see Arda just slotting in as a starter from the get-go. I think that he has some physical developments to go through, especially on his strength, in order to really start to become a starter for Real Madrid. I think that he might also be the reason why Angelo Stiller rumors have died out almost completely, not all of it, but 40 million for a player that's not necessarily a starter. I'm not gonna get into all the transfer rumors. I'm just getting on the idea that Real Madrid are doing what they're doing right now. I'm mostly speaking about the current roster, and Arda Gôler seems to be the player that's going to change positions or play where he should actually play. His best performances have come from deeper areas. He chases the ball a lot. He does a lot. He's a hard-working player, that's for sure. And I would love him to get more responsibilities on the ball, especially considering the fact that this team will have Kylian Mbappe and Vinicius Junior higher up the pitch. I believe that Alonso is going to have that. So Arda should fit that very well, and I think that his minutes are going to go up by a lot. And there have been reports that Dani Ceballos is uncertain about his role with Madrid, even if Angelo Stiller doesn't sign. That's because, again, Arda is becoming a midfielder. Therefore, Ceballos might just see the garbage minutes, if we really want to use the NBA terms for it. I think that's his quality, to be honest, when it comes for Real Madrid. So I wouldn't want this team to rely on Dani Ceballos for even 1 second. Just telling the truth. I know that he had that run in February, but that run ended pretty quick. I don't think he has the quality to do anything of significance for the team. But we have Arda, who I believe that can be molded into a top midfielder. You have a lot of years for him. I don't think that you have this season he has to perform or gone. I think that we have enough depth there. With Modric, unfortunately, going after the Club World Cup. Hope that we send him off with a trophy. I think that Arda is going to take the mantle and play that Lucas position where it's more like box-to-box controller. I think that Arda is going to be a player that's going to come quite deep during the build-up, but he's also going to be a player that's going to move quite high up as Real Madrid is going to start and controlling more of the territory, which is one of the top things that I expect coming from Xabi Alonso. More control, more control, more control, and Arda fits that mold perfectly well. Now into the next thing, which is Franco signing. Well, as it seemed, he was bound to join PSG, but Real Madrid moved into it and swooped him up. Well, looks like there are still some things to be sorted out. He's probably not going to be able to play on Club World Cup for Real Madrid. So that's a bit of a bummer. I would like to see a young player come into that right wing spot because that's where I think they're going to play him. I don't think that he's going to be a number 10. I think that he's going to be mostly on the right, probably more in like a creator role, but he's going to be a player more of the right to find Mbappe and Vinicius, who are definitely going to enjoy the left side a little bit more. Jude's role is to be determined, to be honest. We have to see how this team is going to play. We have to see where Alonso sees Jude. That's also a big question. We can see that Tuchel is seeing Jude on both sides of the pitch, and he wants Jude involved in every phase, which Alonso might do as well, because Jude is performing ridiculously well for England, for anybody that watched it. So Franco might be that right-sided player that's going to slot into Real Madrid and is going to be able to hold his own at all times. He's very young, only 17 years old. A bit of a bummer that he might join in August, to be honest, especially if La Liga season starts and he hasn't played a single minute. That would mean that Real Madrid are going to become a little bit more reliant on Brahim Diaz, which is not really the best if Brahim is in Madrid by that point. We have to see how the squad is constructed, but I think that Franco comes in and he will have a clear role. This is the good thing of having a coach that puts more emphasis on players' positioning, players' roles. I'm not saying that Alonso takes away all the freedom, but he wants players to do certain things. And this the good thing when we're talking about the way how the squad is being assembled and structured. That's because we have a coach that's putting emphasis on the structure of it. We have a coach that's putting a lot of thoughts into what's really going to happen. We have a coach that's really trying to get everything together, not let it be a mess like last season was. Don't get me wrong, I respect Carlo Ancelotti for everything that he's achieved, but nobody can sit there and be like, yeah, Real Madrid looked like a proper team under him. It was most of the time Ancelotti just giving those players a platform to shine rather than Ancelotti really coming up with everything. With Alonso, you have just a completely different story. You have a story in which everything lines up together, at least so far. Every report is very positive, and given watching Bayer Leverkusen film, you can already tell and expect some of the things that are going to come with him. Well, to briefly also touch, there's been an athletic report on Rodrigo that he wants, for some reason, he wants Mario Cortegana from Athletic. He joined from Marca. He's one of the most reliable journalists when it comes to Real Madrid. He wants to talk with Alonso and tell him that he'll play on a left wing. I mean, it's not really science to say that Rodrigo has always wanted to play on left wing, but the left wing spot is taken. That's the reality. You'll probably slot in Vinicius and Mbappe ahead of Rodrigo there. Depends depends on the squad construction, depends on where this team is going to be when La Liga starts. As for Club World Cup, I just you might get to see Rodrigo as a left winger, especially during the group stages, because Alonso is going to do, I think, a lot of rotations. Real Madrid are kind of a little bit blessed with an easier group. Therefore, Alonso can shift things a little bit. That's why I said that it's a bit of a shame that Franco cannot really play for Madrid. I would have liked to see him on Club World Cup because he would get a lot of minutes there. I think that players like Mbappe and Vinicius are going to be slightly more restricted, if that's really the right word, during the group stages. They're going to play, obviously, Real Madrid will want that first place. They will want to win it all. There is really no debate when it comes to that. But I think that the minutes are going to be spread a lot. Just like I said, the center backs, the left back position, the right back position is a little bit trickier because Trent is going to come in now with Jude. So it might be his. Let's see how Alonso is going to manage his replacement and the minutes that are going to be there. Carval is definitely not fit yet to even play. I think that he's scheduled to come back in October if nothing has changed. So Trent is going to have a bigger load, I believe, but we'll have to wait and see how all of this is going to go. Um, for the minutes spread, Rodrigo might get some left wing minutes on Club World Cup, but I think that that's where it's going to end once La Liga, Champions League, all of these competitions start rolling around. I don't see him there. I don't see him being prioritized there, and it's very hard to even make a case for that. And if this is a sort of media pressure that Vinicius is asking for an extension, maybe, hey, you let go of Vinicius and play me at left wing. I don't think that's going to work. I think Vinicius loves Madrid and Madrid loves Vinicius. I think that they're going to come in terms with that. So generally, the squad construction for the most part for the Club World Cup might be a little bit wonky. Some of the players might be unfit. Some of the players might not be there. As we know, this is a team that's really been heavily hit by injuries. A good portion aren't even fully fit. As I said, players are coming from international break. Well, there's too much football. That's the reality of it. I don't think that Alonso is starting in perfect position. I think that he's starting in a position that has a lot of pressure where he's expected to deliver while at the same time developing the team. He's not going to get the full team because let's say that the left back thing, or not really the left back thing, but the left back experiment doesn't necessarily pan out correctly, then they have to sign Carreras. They might find some troubles there because if it doesn't work, then Benfica is going to sniff that desperation and they might have to pay the full clause, which not necessarily is the best, especially for a team that's looking to strengthen multiple positions. There is still the number 9 that's going to need to be looked into. But I believe Real Madrid will, even though there's going to be a cheap option, they will want a backup number 9, probably not for Club World Cup. I think that this squad is set for Club World Cup at this point, and they're going to go. Gonzalo Garcia is probably going to get a few minutes, I would expect. As I said, Vini, Mbappe, Jude are players that I expect to have less minutes during the group stages, which would be the right call. I want to see every player being tested. I want this competition to kind of be treated in a manner of we have to win it, but I also have to test my players. That's really where the biggest challenge is coming for Alonso throughout this all. And not getting Franco, him not getting a left back. All of this is just definitely playing a huge role into how we perceive it. We will discuss Club World Cup way more in details on this channel as we go. We'll break down everything because there are a lot of news coming out. They are consistently, some of them are definitely just trying to buy clicks, but there are some legitimate ones which make you believe. I'm not the type of guy to sit there and be like, oh, here's the markup writer who has said that Xabi Alonso is going to try and do this. Well, not necessarily. I'm not the type of guy to actually go there and do that unless it makes sense and it fits in with what Alonso has previously done. I'm not going to sit there and expect that Alonso is going to completely shift everything. Do I think that he's going to become an adaptive coach for Real Madrid and he's not going to do everything that he did at Bayer Leverkusen? Yes. That's why I'm one of these guys that just kind of takes away the three at back position, not position, but formation for Real Madrid. I don't think that there are the tools to be able to play it. Even though, as I said, if somebody like Aguado was to work out, then you get a left back that's a little bit more defensive minded. He seems to be very physically strong. So he's a left back that you would naturally keep him deeper. Carreras kind of fits that mold too. So you would get more of a left wing where Vinicius Jr. has the support definitely, but he has to stretch the pitch a little bit more with your left back inverting. Fran Garcia is completely different style. You want him, well, I've seen Fran Garcia invert, especially on high up the field with Rayo Vallecano. I'm not saying that he can do that. He definitely can. I've actually even seen him crash the box, which is a really interesting choice. But Fran Garcia, for the most part, you want him probably near the touchline, and that's where your winger has to come on the inside. Those are all the things that I want to see Xabi Alonso try. Those are all the things that I think he's afforded to do with that group that we have on Club World Cup. Yeah, things change because we expect the loser or the second place of the group of Manchester City and Juventus. That's not going to be the easiest task. It depends. Juventus have Igor Tudor now full time for next season. At the very least, we know that. We have a confirmation there. And Manchester City have done a lot of changes. We have to see how they look in Club World Cup. We have to see who comes first, who comes second in that group. I think Real Madrid should have the first place sealed on their group and then move from there to see who they face between Juventus and Manchester City. So that's going to be an immediate challenge. So when we're analyzing the minutes of the players, I think that you want to put this team on the best possible position, minutes-wise, physically, to deal with it. Pinto staying, I think it's good news. I know that there are some mixed opinions when it comes to him. From some fans because of the injuries that Real Madrid have faced, but we also have to think about the fact that the way how Pintus kind of prepares the team and the way how Carlo Ancelotti managed the team just didn't really align last season. So I would hope that there's going to be a little bit of a better communication or planning between Alonso and him. There must be just enough faith from Alonso to keep him around. So that's a good thing. Zidane fired him on the second tenure when he came back, and we got Clément Dupont to do that role. That might have been a petty thing from Zidane. I don't really know. But Pintus sticks around with Alonso too. He's somebody that knows the team, knows the capacity, and knows how much they can do. I just hope in better minute management. I just hope in Alonso giving us a little bit of a better football. I hope that we get to see youngsters also in. I want to see Aguado. I want to see Gonzalo Garcia. I want to see those players slot in, get some respectable minutes. I'm not even saying that they have to start the three group stage games, but I want to see them getting minutes that are really respectable, where we can actually form an opinion and judge the level where these players are right now. Just like we saw with Raul Asensio last season, right? He wasn't one of the highest rated players from Castilla. He was actually one of the least talked about, but he came in, showed personality, and this is exactly what I'm expecting from the other players. We might also get Fortea on the right side of the things. So Club World Cup is going to give us a lot. I think that, again, to repeat myself, it should be a mixture between preseason and a trophy that I have to win. It doesn't fully have to be a trophy that I have to win. Therefore, I'm going to play my best 11 at all times because I need to secure myself a job. Yes, Real Madrid have already put the pressure on it. They want those players to be there. They want Alonso to win it. Yes, Do I think that they're favorites to win it? Also, yes, even though we haven't seen a single minute with Alonso, I think that the changes are genuinely going to do very well to the most talented squad in the world. So I'm not tampering my expectations when it comes to the results. But what I'm trying to do is to just find a nice blend, because it really is playing at a very bad moment. A Nations League, qualifiers for the World Cup. The season has just ended. The players haven't had any sort of vacation, really. They're jumping into a tournament with 120 million, I believe, on the line, and the club telling them that, hey, each and every single of you players are going to get 1 mil each if you go and win this tournament. Therefore, we also know that Real Madrid are putting a lot of emphasis on it by delaying Jude Bellingham's shoulder surgery, which he will get posted and then miss in and around 3 months, which would be a month and a half of La Liga, I believe. That's the timeline that it would fit in. Actually, no, 2.5 months of La Liga. That's the timeline that Jude Bellingham injury fits into, really, or recovery, I should say, not injury, but recovery. That shoulder needs fixing. I've said that for a while on my Twitter. I don't really know why it wasn't really done the moment when this season was lost. I'm not fully sure, but I also understand how much priority Real Madrid are giving to this competition, how well they want to do in it, but also have a coach that's going to align everything up as perfectly as it can be. Not 100% perfect. It cannot be 100% perfect. It's too short. It's the turnaround for Alonso to this team. It's way too short. I've already had a full episode speaking about the pressure that he's into, but he needs to find a mix between how am I going to treat some of these games like preseason, where I'm going to give youngsters a little bit of time, where I'm going to rest some of the top players, and have those top players be in top tier position for the KO stages where I actually want to win it. 3 games, that's quite a lot for you to be able to even form an opinion. I think that we're going to see quite a lot of games played by Alonso inside the Real Madrid training camp. I think that is going to divide the teams a lot. You're going to get a lot of games as he's trying to up the team's intensity and trying to get them ready. Every team is coming mostly from the same boat. So I don't want to say that Real Madrid are in any sort of disadvantage. I'm not really going to play that card, but I'm saying that Alonso just needs to manage the situation and make sure that every single player is valuable to the team. His rotations with Bayer Leverkusen are ridiculous. Maybe we might not get to that extent, but we need to up the number of the minutes that the bench gets. We need to lessen the load of the starters so that when the perfect time comes, when Real Madrid are out there competing for every trophy, those players are in good shape, those players aren't mentally and physically tired, and basically we don't get a repetition of last season. Last season was a mix of basically everything. It was like mental, physical fatigue, tactical, really tactical nuance was lacking, but most Real Madrid's best month came in February, when the players kind of felt rejuvenated physically and mentally, but they weren't getting the results. And then you saw that drawback from them, and the results just didn't really follow up again because they were a bit too tired. So, in that sense, I believe that Alonso needs to take lessons from the last season. Everything is suggesting that he's taking things seriously. The fact that the guy stayed almost 12 hours on Valdebebas means a lot, at least to us, the fans. It shows a hardworking coach. It shows a coach that's going to try and do anything and everything. I don't know why he stayed for that long, to be honest. Probably it's mostly him and his staff just going through everything, the assessments, pre and post the training, and what they saw, what they like, what they didn't like. And I think that that's going to become more and more of a common thing that they're gonna have to do, that they're doing until they reach a point where they feel comfortable. pressure, everything plays a part. I think that some of the signings outside of Franco lacking or positive, in my opinion. I don't think that the gun needs to be jumped everywhere. I think that the squad as a whole underperformed last season, so we shouldn't really take that as a baseline. The sample isn't small enough in my eyes, so a little bit of more of a test run on this Club World Cup would be good. The summer is long, transfer window is open. Real Madrid don't have to be a team that's really desperate for signings at all times. There are profiles missing, but as I said, they're trying to get Arda in midfield. That's his best position. I just learned the more film I watched after we spoke with Sid that that's where Arda should play. Franco not playing is a little bit of a bummer. I don't know what's going on there. Apparently, there was also going to be a little bit of passport issue due to his age. Therefore, there are a lot of things that are complicating the deal. So he seems to be a player that's going to join the team in August. That's a bit of a bummer, but maybe Alonso can get Brahim Diaz to mature a little bit more. But at this point, I think that we're asking the coach to mature a bit too many players. Fran Garcia, Rodrigo, Brahim Diaz, Chouameni, Camavinga, Huijsen, all of these players just have to be matured further, need to really be able to do anything and everything as the coach wants. So the less pressure, the less players that this coach has to mature, the better. I think that the core is pretty good. I think the core is going to fit nicely, but there are some players that are going to have to grow. As I said at the beginning of the episode, this assessment so far is assuming the team remains the same. Because if a player like Rodrigo leaves, then a lot of things are going to change. I'm assuming that Madrid are going to be chasing an attacking profile that Alonso would want rather than having to nurture Rodrigo into that player. I've said on other episodes, some people call me a dumb host, I guess, for saying that. Personally, on any film, I haven't really seen how Xabi Alonso makes use of Rodrigo. Maybe he does, maybe he has a plan. That's something for us to be seen. Personally, I'm not fully convinced that he does. I don't think he gives him the left wing spot. I don't know, that wouldn't really make much of a sense unless Vinicius is going to be more of a central player and we get two up top with him and Mbappe. But at that point, you would probably be better off using Jude. So I don't really know. The report doesn't make full sense. Maybe Mario is just bullshitting. Maybe it's just a PR move. I'm not sure. That's really bad, though, especially considering that it's news coming on the coach's second day. Knowing all the external pressure and internal one that's already on there, and you're adding a big piece on top of everything else, because we like it or not, there's a big club being linked to him. There is big amounts of money there. So adding this pressure to the coach, to me, just kind of sounds unfair and not necessarily the best possible road that I would like to go on in terms of managing the situation. I hope that we get a resolution soon with the situation. I don't want to hear about this throughout the Club World Cup. I want to know that the players that are going to US are the players that we are going to see being tested in different roles, positions, and at the same time players that are going to get the results and make this team exactly what Alonso said: watchable, controlling, and winners. This is a lot already. You have to fill everything because you're going from a dire football. If you want to count the success seasons of Real Madrid, football wasn't good, but it brought results. But now you're going to take that and you're going to turn it into, okay, we know how to play. We're going to play out of the back. We're going to try to control the ground, control the possession. I'm going to have to reset other players. I'm going to have to make them understand everything that I want from them at every time. You're going to get a little bit more rigid approach. while at the same time these group of players are really talented, so they're going to want their own freedom on a pitch, and you don't really want to be hit with outside news. So I said Franco is the bummer for me, not Carreras. I'm completely fine playing Club World Cup without him, really. But yeah, that's as far as everything goes. And with that being said, I think that it's time to wrap this episode up. I was going on tangents at the end of it because I just feel bad for the situation. Thanks to everybody who tuned in. Thanks to everybody that called me a retard on the last episode. And thanks also for people that appreciate some of the comments that I bring in. Don't forget, guys, this is a free podcast. You have it also as audio only on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Don't forget to check us over there. Follow us on other social media to keep track with everything that's happening. This is just the beginning. I hope you guys are enjoying it. More and more shows are coming. And guys, I'll see you on the next one.